welcome back to my channel. Today I am finally filming part 2 of my 13 and pregnant video. Now this has been ridiculously requested because you guys have just had so many questions from that video, which I completely and utterly understand. So I'm doing this video today to answer all those questions and give you the lowdown on what happened after Shan was born. Most of the questions have been about my daughter's father and was he in her life and all this and that and the other. So that's like majority of all the questions. I'm getting nervous again, like I don't know what's wrong with me. Let's get started. Shan was born on Saturday the 4th of October 2003. Now you all know that it was a massive surprise for my mum, for my family and for all my friends. Now I did say to you guys that when I first knew I fell pregnant, I told my friends, and then she told Shan's dad, and he was calling me a liar and saying that I'm just doing it to get back with him, which I can understand from his perspective, because I know a lot of girls who cry pregnancy or, you know, cry certain things if you know, you break up and that, but that just was not the case. I genuinely was pregnant, as we all know. So Shan was born and I was in hospital, and due to me not having any normal pregnancy, so like I hid it the whole way through, and I didn't have any like scans, I didn't have any doctor's appointments or anything, and also because of my age social services weren't involved. Because I was obviously 13 years old, we have social services here in UK which are basically protecting children. So it's, I think, isn't it called like, is it called social services in America? I don't know. Child Protective Services, isn't it, in America? I think it's called. But yeah, we call it social services in UK. So social services obviously had to get involved. My labour was as smooth as anything. I didn't have any pain relief. I only had gas and air. Didn't have any like needles or any like, I didn't have any major drugs to help me give birth. I literally just had gas and air, no stitches. Literally I healed up straight up after I had her. It was a smooth labour. And if my pregnancy was recorded, like my pregnancy was known to social services and to the doctors, I probably would have gone home that night or early the next morning, because my midwives were like, you've just had the smoothest pregnancy, the smoothest labour. So, you know, I would have come out of the hospital that night. But due to the sensitive nature of the pregnancy, I was only 13 years old. Social services had to get involved to assess the situation, to come and interview me, to go to my home, to see what the means of the home is like, to see if it is okay for a mother and a baby to go and live there. So I gave birth to on the Saturday, and I wasn't released until the Tuesday. But on the Monday morning, I was a social service lady, a social worker, sorry, social services lady. A social worker come out to see me on the Monday, and she interviewed me, and she just basically said, who did this to you? Like, was it a family member? Was it rape? Was it an older guy? Like, you know, the necessary questions that need to be asked, because they're obviously looking out for my safety and the safety of my daughter. So I says to them, I didn't know who the father was. I lied. Obviously I know who Shan's dad was, but I said to them, because he was 17 and I was 13, I thought he was going to get into trouble. So I was like, no, I don't know who my daughter's dad is. It was just me being stupid and drunk in a park one night and, you know, getting pregnant, doing the deed and getting pregnant. Which, you know, obviously it's not right to lie and stuff, but like I said, I didn't really want to get Shan's dad into trouble, because even though he was 17 and I was 13, and I'm not sticking up for it now because I think it's horrendous when I look back on it. Firstly, he's very immature for his age. Like, even now, he's 30. Okay, if I'm 28, he's 32 now. And the people who know him, who I speak to, he's still acting like a 16-year-old. He's just, like, he's very immature in himself. I don't want to be this video to slag him off, because at the end of the day, he is my daughter's father. But like I said, I just didn't want to get him into trouble. And even though I was 13, I was very mature for 13. Like I said, when I started high school, I got so much attention from boys, from the upper, like the year 11s, and that is because I was so well developed. I didn't look 13, I looked 16, 17. I did. And I'm not saying that's a reason for me to be okay to have sex, or to him have sex with me. I'm not saying that, but with that situation, it was just, do you know what I mean? It was just a bit yeah, it's messed up. I can't even give a reason to it, but I just didn't want to get him into trouble. So social services come out on the Monday. They interviewed me. They went to my house, checked my house to make sure that everything was safe for Shan to go there. And it was all grand. We got released on the Tuesday morning. And, you know, like I mentioned, when I went home, there was just gifts and everything everywhere from everyone in the neighbourhood that had just, you know, gave me loads of baby stuff, because obviously I didn't have any. Now, let's get started onto Shan's dad. So on that Tuesday night, my friend, who I told I was pregnant from the beginning, the one who was seeing Shan's dad's friend, oh, I'm so sorry if this sounds confusing, but I says to her, I says, we need to tell him that I've had the baby. Because even though I was 13 years old, I've been very grown up for my age, like very, very mature, very, very grown up. I've had to be in the like situation I've been brought up in. And I could have just carried on. I didn't love the guy, like it's pathetic. I didn't love him, and I 100% didn't love him at that time with me, you know, having Shan. But he still, I was like, no, he still needs to know that he's had a daughter, and I still would like my daughter to have a father. So me and my friends, we went round to the phone box, because this was back a day. Well, yeah, there was mobile phones, but no one used to have credit then. Do you remember you used to have 1p credit and you used to hot ring people, like one ring up? No one used to have monthly contracts because they used to be so expensive. Everyone used to have top up then. But even then you'll have a top up for a one ringer, like, and back then you could have a penny credit and you could one ring people. Those were the days. But obviously I didn't have any credit. So we went round to the phone box and we rang his cousin up, because the whole time I was with Shan's dad, I'm so sorry. Drizzy's sitting in, all his hair, I'm looking at the viewfinder, sorry, but all his hair is going up, because it's so hot in UK at the moment, but all his hair is going all up my nose, and it's like really making me uncomfortable. But he's just sitting there like a proud cat. So I don't really want to move him. Look at him, he's looking in the viewfinder, he's so funny. But anyway, are you just here to comfort me? I think he is, because I'm not going to cry in this video. I'm not gonna. Okay. So we went to the phone box, and like I was saying, Shan's dad did not have a phone for the whole time I had him. Like I said, he was very mature. He wasn't like, he didn't really have any responsibilities. He still lived with his parents. He wasn't a good egg, just as simple as that. So I had his cousin's number though. One of the cousins, like he didn't see any of my friends, but one of his cousins, I had his number. So me and my friends, we went to the phone box and called his cousin up. He answered and I was like, hello, it's Emma. And he was like, yeah, you all right? And I was like, yeah, just to let you know, I've had a baby, and it's, because I'm not going to say my father's name, my daughter's father's name. And I was like, and it's his, and I've had the baby. But basically, his cousin at the time had a new girlfriend, and she was just in the background going, bullshit, whatever, you slag, you ain't had his baby, you little slut, this and that, and the other, like being all rowdy in the background. I don't know what her issue is, and it's really funny because me and her become friends after that. Well, a few years after. But yeah, so she was just in the background going, you're lying, you ain't had his kids, you little slag, rah, 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 this and the other. And that was it. So I says, look, I'm only ringing you to tell him I've had his kid. If he wants to see her, he can. If not, or I just want the message to be passed on, that's it. And he was like, yeah, I'll pass the message on. So that was in October, let's say October the 10th, around, no, because she was born on the Saturday. So October the 8th, 2003, I rang up to tell my daughter's dad that he's got a little girl, just to give him the heads up. I didn't ring up saying I want him to see her or I want his money. The whole of Shan's life, I swear to God, I've had £30 off her dad. 30 English pounds, that's it, out of her whole life. I've never asked for money off him. I've never asked for anything off him. I didn't want Shan was born in an immature situation anyway, and I just wanted to do the best I can as on my own. I've always been a really independent person, and to be fair, that's one of my biggest flaws, because when I need help, I really rarely ask for it. I'd rather struggle on my own. And even though some people can see that as quite empowering, it can actually knock you down as a person. But I just had this thing in my head that I was going to be a strong, independent mother for my daughter and not rely on anyone, because then I feel like when you don't rely on anyone, you can't get hurt. Do you know what I mean? So, like I was saying, I've only had £30 off Shan's dad her whole life. Yeah, so I told him that, say, 4 days after her birth, like the 8th of October 2003. And I was like, okay, I've passed the message on. That's all I need to do now. Nothing else needs to happen. I went back to school in the February, so I was so nervous. The government paid for her to go to nursery whilst I went to school. So what I used to do is I'd wake up at 7, get her ready, give her breakfast, drop her off to nursery at 8, walk to school 9, finish school at 3:15, and walk back up to the nursery, pick her up for a 4, half 4, take her home. So that's Monday to Friday. So it was like a working mum basically, but I was going to school. When she was about 8 months old, or was she? Yeah, she was about 8 months old. I remember she wasn't walking. When she was about 8 months old, I got a knock on the door, and oh my guess who it was? It was my daughter's dad's brothers and cousins, like his family basically. There was about 5 of them, and they were just in the area, and they come and knocked on the door to see how I was. And the one of them who I told I was pregnant wasn't there, so he obviously hadn't passed the message on. So they walk into my living room, they see baby stuff. I remember there was a bouncer on the floor, and my daughter was with my friend that day. So my daughter wasn't at home, I was home alone with my mum. Was it my mum even there? I can't remember. Anyway, so they walk in the house. I was like, oh, you all right? Come in. So I invited them into the house, and they've looked around, and they can see a bouncer, they can see a little cot in the corner, they can see baby stuff. And they were like, whoa, who's had a baby? And I was like, me, I've had a baby. And they were like, whatever. And I was like, yeah, I've had a baby and didn't blah blah tell you, because I rang him and told you to tell, you know, the dad. They were like, no one's told us, And I was like, really? I said, well, where is he? Talking about my daughter's dad. He was in prison. He got locked up in prison 2 weeks after Shan was born, and I called up his cousin 4 days after Shan was born. So that could have been his opportunity to see her before he went into prison. So I was like, what do you mean he's in prison? He used to be a car thief and just a roadman, typical low life. So I was like, what do you mean he's in prison? I'm like, yeah, he got 6 years, but he has to do minimum of 3. And I was just like, what? I said, well, I've had his daughter. And they were like, no, whatever, you're lying. It's your mum's kid. And now my mum is not like the typical lady, shall I say. She's, you know, obviously she's had boyfriends and that, but she's not really been like a romantical sort of person. The last boyfriend she's had was when I was like 9 years old. Do you know what I mean? So I was laughing. I was like, really? So who's the dad? And they were like, no, you're lying. It's definitely not your kid. It's your mum's. You're chatting bubbles. And I was like, no, it's my kid. It's my child. Like, what do you mean? And they were like, whatever, give us proof. Yeah, I remember my mum wasn't there. And I was like, okay, come back in a few days, because my mum's got the birth certificate and everything, because my mum's always been one of those people that's had a drawer that's locked with loads of memories in, like diaries and all the important stuff. So like the birth certificate for my daughter was in there. So I was like, look, I can't get into that birth certificate. You come back in a few days and I'll have the birth certificate ready for you to see that I'm the mum. So they were like, okay, fine. And I said, and you can meet her as well. I said, 3 days, come on, say Friday. I can't remember what day it was. So I was like, come back on this day. She'll be here, the baby, to see her, because she looked like her bloody dad. And also I'll show you the birth certificate. My mum will be here as well to vouch for me. And they were like, okay, fine. So they left. 3 days later, they came back. And I just remember one of his cousins walked in, and she was just sitting there in her bouncer. And he literally walked straight in and picked her up from the bouncer. And he just looked at his mates, and he was just like, this is his baby. I don't care what. Look at it. Sounds horrible saying look at it, but look at her. You know, he was like, look at her. She's the spitting image of her dad, because she was. She's still got flaws of her dad now, but luckily she's like blessed and looks like me. I'm joking. But yeah, back then she looked like her dad. And they were like, definitely she's hers, like she's his. And I was like, of course I wouldn't lie to them. My mum was like, of course it's hers. My mum got the birth certificate out. My mum got the social letters out, because obviously my mum had to get money for her, you know, through me or whatever like that. So we were showing them all the evidence, and they were just like, oh my God, I can't believe it. And then I was like, didn't he tell you? Talking about the cousin who I did phone up. And I was like, didn't he tell you I had the baby? They're like, no, he didn't tell us. He hasn't told him either. So I was like, okay, so how are we going to get to tell him? So then his cousin was like, don't worry, I'm going to write him a letter tonight, and I'm going to tell him that you've had his daughter and that we've met her and she's bloody his kid and stuff like that. So I was like, okay, thank you, wicked. Then about a week or 2 later, I got a letter in the post from prison, and it was from him. And he was basically saying to me, he was really like nice about it, to be fair, but it was all prison talk. Now, I don't know if you guys are like aware of people who go to prison, but what happens is when they're in prison, they live in a fantasy world. And when they're in prison, they think all these things like, I'm going to be this when I get out, I'm going to be that, I'm going to be a good person, I'm going to have a good family, I'm going to have this, I'm going to have that. So he was just giving me prison talk where he's like, I can't wait to come out and be a good dad to her and be a good person to you. I want to look after my daughter, because she was his only child. He was like, I want to look after my daughter and blah blah blah. And I was like, well, I'm not going to stop you. He asked me to take her to prison, and I said no, my daughter's not walking into a prison, even though she was a kid and she wouldn't be aware of her surroundings. But I was like, no, I don't want my daughter's first day meeting her dad in prison. And he, to be fair, he respected that. He was like, okay, fine, that's fine, I'm happy with that. So I used to send him, he used to write us letters like once every week or every 2 weeks. Like, it wasn't like constant, but it was regular. And he'd ring up the house phone and just see how we are. I would send him letters and pictures of her growing up. So I sent him loads and loads of pictures. So for the 3 years whilst he was in prison, we kept in contact. He didn't give me any money, he didn't have no money to give. But his cousins were lovely. One cousin in particular, he used to buy Shan a lot of clothes. He bought her first Timberlands, he bought her trainers, he bought her tracksuits, like, because they were only like 18-year-old boys as well, so they used to just love seeing her in, you know, like little tracksuits and trainers, the same as what they were in. So, you know, she was really looked after by all her, like, her uncles technically. But yeah, when it comes to her dad, he didn't meet her once until he come out of prison. So her dad come out of prison October 2006. I remember she was 3 years old. Yeah, it was just before we moved, wasn't it? So, and I remember the first day he was coming to the house and I was so nervous, like really, really nervous about him actually meeting her in the flesh. But it was a good bit. Oh, actually, and a year before he come out of prison, the cousin who I rang up and told him, look, I've had his baby, let him know, I got close with his girlfriend, who was the one who was in the background calling me a slag and stuff. So basically they reached out to me like a year before, you know, Shan's dad come out of prison and was like, look, don't you think it would be nice for her to come and meet all her family and like her cousins and her aunties and stuff? So I was like, yeah, wicked. So from the age of 2, my daughter used to go to see her dad's family. So like all his aunties, all his cousins, and, you know, and she used to have like a really nice time there. I enjoyed going there as well. They were lovely people. So, you know, from the age of 2, she had connection with her father's family. So when he come out when she was 3, you know, she'd already sort of known his family and stuff like that. And she knew who her dad was. I used to show her pictures and go, this is your dad. And her family used to talk about him and stuff. So it was, you know, it was nice for her to just have that, like, you know, support around her from my side and from her dad's side. When they did finally meet, he come to the house. I remember it was like 6 o'clock at night. I was so nervous. But he come to my house and he just come and sat with her in the living room. And she was very shy of him at first, which is understandable. Because I told her, like, you know, daddy's coming today. And she was like, okay. So then, you know, even though she was 3 years old, she still gets nervous, or everyone does. So he come, and then she was a bit shy around him. And, you know, but it was nice, you know, for me to see my daughter with her dad, and you could just see the resemblance, like, massively. But yeah, the first meeting she was really, really shy. But from him coming out of prison, he used to come and see her every single day. Now, bearing in mind, my place where I lived was like 40 minutes away from where he lived, because he used to live on the opposite side of Birmingham, but he still used to travel to see her every day. So it was really nice, because their relationship really, really, really developed, and she really trusted him and I trusted him. And like I said, from day one, I said to him, I said, I don't want your money. I don't want anything from you. I just want you to be a dad to my daughter. And this is what really, really agitates me, because now our relationship isn't great. So that's one thing that really agitates me, because from day one, I've never expected anything from him. I've always told him, I don't want any money. I don't want anything. I just want you to be a good dad to my daughter, because I never had a father in my life. And now our relationship isn't great. Mine and Shan's dad's relationship is not great, and that's not down to me, but he likes to say it's down to me. He actually messaged me about 2 months ago, which was an absolutely ridiculous message, and I'll tell you that in a bit. So yeah, they got a good bond and it was great. But then about 6 weeks after he come out of prison, I had a boyfriend at this time, and like, it was quite a serious relationship. And Shan's dad started dropping the love bombs on me, saying to me how much he wants us to be together and how much he wants me and him to get married and like have a proper family with Shan. But at this time, I wasn't attracted to him at all, and I just literally saw him as the mistake of a man I chose to have a baby. Well, I didn't choose to have a baby with, but you know what I mean. So I didn't fancy him at all, and I wasn't attracted to him, and I definitely did not want to be in a relationship with him. So I was like, no, that's not going to happen. Just be a dad to Shan. Then I started seeing him less and less and less. He wouldn't come and see her as much, but I never used to bother him, because at the end of the day, it's not my job to force someone to see their daughter. That's what I always say in life as well. It's like, I'm quite a tough lover. Like, I wouldn't like to say I'm a bad person, but a lot of people say I'm very opinionated, and I'm very strong-headed. But it's just, you can't force anyone to do something they don't want to do. And I'm not going to force someone to be in my daughter's life if they don't want to be in it. So I never stressed him. I never rang him and was like, where are you for your daughter? Or where's the money for this? Or where's the money for that? I was just like, I'm going to leave him to do what the hell he wants. So for Shan's life, he was just always in and out, in and out, in and out. You know, he'd not see her for 6 months, then come and spend 2 weeks constantly every day seeing her. But then he'd go again, and then he'd come back. And he never spent any money on her. I don't know, he was just immature. He was stupid. It was just, obviously, when he was going in a bad, like, when he was having a bad few days and he was feeling a bit depressive, he'd think, oh, okay, I've got a daughter. This is my time to shine and be a good dad. But then he'd go and ruin it again. Like, he'd come in and out of her life, like, constantly. And it really, really used to agitate me. But I says to him, and I said it to him from day dot, and I stuck to my word. I says to him, I'm never going to stop you from seeing your daughter. It will be the day when she says, I don't want to see you. And if you carry on with this behaviour, that's what it's going to get to. She's going to not want to see you. So I said, you are more than welcome to come see her whenever you want to. I will not stop you. But the only time it will stop is when she asks for it to be stopped. She asks to stop seeing you, and it will happen. And he was like, oh, okay, whatever. So he still sort of tarnishes with me with saying that I stopped him from seeing my daughter. It stopped him and my daughter's relationship from flourishing. But it wasn't me at all. Like, even to this day, I would love for them to have a relationship, because everyone deserves a mother and father. But he's just not grown up enough to be a man. He can't look after himself, never mind a child. So, you know, that's just how it is. So for all her life, he was, ow, you bit me. So for all her life, he was in and out all the time. And I remember one time when she was about 7, he come back into her life again. And I'd been driving and stuff like that. And this shows how horrible he is, or how of a horrible minded person he is. I remember he come to my house to see Shan, and I had a car and everything, and he just says to me, I remember it like it was yesterday, I was sitting out the back of it with him and my mum, and he was like, you think you're so good because you've got a car? And I was like, no, I don't. Yeah, you think you're so good because you work and you've got a car? You need a reality check, mate. You're nobody. Like, he was hating on his baby mum, the one who was giving his daughter a great life, and he was hating on me. And he says to me, if I was you, I'd drive your car with the doors locked, because I'm going to get someone to rob you. That's exactly what he says to me. That's how much of a vile person he was. But I just was like, took it over my head, and I was just like, okay, mate, whatever. And I remember walking off with my cousin Anthony and my cousin Charlene, and I was just like, what a fucking joke. Sorry for my language, but what a joke. But I still didn't stop him from seeing my daughter, because, like I said, he can do and say what he wanted to me, but if he was still trying to be a father, that's all that matters. And like I mentioned earlier, he only give her £30 her whole life. And it was when we moved into our new place, and my mum, we got a 4-bedroom house. So when we lived where Shan was first born, we only had a 3-bedroom house, and me and Shan used to share a room. But when we moved, we had a 4-bedroom house, so Shan had her own room, and I decorated it all at my own money, and I painted it all myself, carpeted it, everything, bought her a new bed, everything for her room. And then I wanted to get her a TV DVD combi, you know, like the big box TVs with the DVD attached to it, because she used to have loads of Disney DVDs. So I remember it was like £140, but it was on sale for £100 in August, and I remember I only had £70, and I says to him, like, can you give me some money towards Shan's TV? And he give me 30 quid, and that's the only time in her whole life I've took money off him. And if he tries to say anything else, I beg him to show me proof, because there was nothing ever I took money off him. So that was the only money he gave her out of her whole life. And like I said, I didn't matter about the money, because I was looking after her financially myself. I didn't need the money. I just wanted... Drizzy! Oh, bloody cat. I just wanted... Drizzy! I swear, move out the way. Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to be aggressive to him, but I don't want my camera to smash. I didn't care about money. I just wanted him to be a dad to her. That's all that matters. Now, Shan has not seen her dad since June 2012, and the reasoning behind that was Shan's, so you know, like I mentioned, Shan's dad was always in and out of her life, in and out, and we hadn't spoke to him for about 8 months, and then out of the blue, early May 2012, I get a message off him on Facebook saying, look, something really bad's happened to me, and I've realised that I've got a beautiful daughter, and I don't want her to grow up without her dad. Please let me see her, blah blah blah. First thing I did was I went to Shan, and I says, she was okay, so Shan was 8 years old at the time. So the first thing I did was I said to Shan, look, your dad's contacted me, he's in hospital, because he was in hospital. I said, do you want to go see him? And she was like, yeah, I'd like to see him, Mum. That was it. That's all. I've never ever like forced my daughter to not want to see her dad or anything like that, you know, because I'm a good person. I've got a really pure heart. Like I don't hate on people. Like even now, if I don't get on with people, I don't expect my friends to not get on with them. Do you know what I mean? I'm a grown up. So I says to her, I was like, okay, we'll go see him. So basically he got attacked by 3 men, and they smashed his legs in really bad. He'd obviously grown up, still been immature, still doing dodgy business. So he was in the QE hospital in Birmingham, and back then I used to work for the NHS. So I used to work Monday to Friday, 9 to 5, and Shan used to go childcare. I used to drop off at childcare at 7:30 every morning, and they'd give her breakfast, take her to school, and then they'd pick her up from school, and then I'd finish work at 5, and then I'd go pick her up. So this is how much of a good person I was. I would finish work at 5 o'clock, go to Shan, pick her up from school, go to the QE, pay ridiculous amount of parking to let her see him. So we used to go see him every single day in hospital. We used to go sit in his room, and she would sit there and she'd talk to him, and you know, it made me happy again that they were building a relationship. And her uncle, who even to now she does miss her uncle, he was lovely. He was like really nice, and she got a really good relationship with her uncle, her dad's actual brother, at this time. And my battery's dying, what the hell. So it was really, you know, it was really good that he had come back in her life again. We went on holiday to Turkey, and he was still in hospital. He was in hospital for a long time, for like 6 weeks, even more than that, because his legs were completely smashed up, and they had to do numerous amount of operations on his legs. The reason why Shan and him have stopped seeing each other was me and him were sitting in the lobby of the hospital, and we got into a bit of a discussion. Shan wasn't there. Her uncle took her into the WH Smith there to buy her a book, because she was mental over, you know, the Wimpy Kid books. So he took her in there to go buy her a new Wimpy Kid book, and me and him had a heated discussion over something. And I says to him, as they were coming out of the shop, I said, look, Shan's coming now, let's just forget about it. But literally, as Shan come, he asked her opinion on an adult situation. He asked her opinion. It was something to do with war, basically. So, you know, with war going on in the UK, taking over Afghanistan and stuff like that. And he was like, what do you think? And she's 8 years old. I hid her from tabloids and from war and from badness her whole life. And I flipped, and I says to him, what have I just asked you? I says to you, don't talk about that in front of her. She's a child. I don't want her to, you know, think about stuff like that. Then he was like, no, she needs to know the real world, blah blah blah. And then I just went mad, and I grabbed her and I said, come on, let's go. And he started shouting horrible abuse at me in the lobby, saying I'm a dirty hoe and I think I'm better than everyone else. He was intimidated by me at the end of the day, because when he first met me I was a 13-year-old vulnerable little child, and then where I was now, and I had a great job for the NHS and I was driving and we had our own home and everything, and he was intimidated because he was like, what the hell, she's gone from that to that, because I worked hard and I looked after my daughter, whereas he was still on the same level. And he just hurled abuse at me, and me and Shan walked out the hospital, and I swear to God, when we sat in the car, Shan says to me, Mum, I don't ever want to see him again. And that is hand on my heart, on my mum's life. Like, I hate swearing on people's lives, but I don't lie. That is what she says to me. And then I says, are you sure? And she went, yeah, I don't want to see him ever again. He's a horrible person. Because obviously she'd known this mum her whole life, who's never stopped her from seeing her dad, for this guy to hurl abuse at her mum for no reason. So I was like, okay babe, whatever you want, you won't see him again. And the worst thing was, that happened on the Thursday, and on the Saturday morning I had planned for Shan to spend the day with her cousins. So his sister was married and she had 2 children, a boy and a girl. And Shan was getting close to them because they were her cousins. So on the Saturday, me and his sister had planned for me to drop Shan off to her in the morning for her to spend the day with them. You know what happened on that Saturday morning? I went to his sister's house, knocked on the door. She didn't answer it to me. Rang her phone. She didn't answer it to me. So basically he had got to his sister to ignore me, but it wasn't about me, it was about his daughter. But no, he got to his sister to ignore me. That's how horrible he is. So I remember putting my daughter in the car and I was like, okay, don't worry, me and you will have a good day. And I was just done. I was done with him and I was done with his family. Now his family, like I said, hadn't been harmful to her or horrible. And I know for a fact the reason why his sister didn't answer the phone to me was because of him. I know that for a fact, because he's quite aggressive and he would have like, don't answer the phone to her. Don't want to, like, you know what I mean? But he was just harming his daughter. And then ever since then, she's not had him in her life. Not at all. And, you know, that's his fault. I've gone to see his family once. I think one more time after that I went to go see his family, because like I said, they're not bad people, but we've obviously moved away from Birmingham and we live down in Kent now, so she doesn't see any of her family and she definitely doesn't see her dad. I want to apologise if the camera quality seems a bit different, but my camera just died. The battery died literally just as I was about to tell you about the message he sent me, so I do want to apologise if it seems a bit different, a bit distorted now, but let's just carry on. So 2 months ago, he messaged me on Facebook and the words were so ridiculous. It was, what kind of mother are you keeping a daughter away from her father? I guess that's what you want because you haven't bothered me. So it's my job, basically, to bother him to be a father to his daughter. That's what he's implying in the text messages. Like, that's how ridiculous he is. Not a message to say, thank you for looking after my daughter, for keeping away from harm, for giving her the best life you could possibly give her, for taking her on holidays, for making sure she goes to school and keeps up with her education, for protecting her from everything that I never protected her from. Do you know what I mean? That's the message he has to send me. A rude message. And I told Shan straight away and I showed her the message and she went, no, I don't want to see him. No, don't want to know. So that along the lines just tells you exactly what my daughter's father was like. He was immature and not a nice person, really. He blames everyone for everything that's bad in his life instead of actually taking responsibility and just doing what he can do best. Do you know what I mean? So yeah, that's it, guys. So that's the majority of everything you've asked me is my daughter's dad, and that's it. That's the whole story of my daughter's dad. She hasn't seen him since 2012. We've seen him twice since then. Once we was at a roundabout and he come to the side of my car and he opened the window and was like, where's my daughter? And she was in the car, she was hiding, because we noticed him and she hid at the bottom, like she hid underneath the car because she didn't want him to see her. And then a second time was we was driving on a road in Birmingham, and he was walking into the chemist, and she says to me, "Mom, look, there's my dad." Like, so she knows who her dad is. I'm never going to stop her. Even his family reached out to me not long ago and asked to see her. And I said to her, I was like, look, do you want to go see them? It was his cousins, basically, his cousins' sisters and stuff like that. So they were like technically her aunties, really. And they were like, we'd love to see her. And I was like, okay, fine. So I spoke to Shan and I was like, look, next time we're at Birmingham, do you want to go see them? And she was like, okay, fine. Yeah, I do want to see them. But then when it come down to it, she was like, actually, no, I don't trust it. I know he's going to be there. And I says, even if he is going to be there, nothing's going to happen. And she was like, no, but I don't want to see him. I don't, like, Shan's not really good with confrontation. I wouldn't say, who is good at confrontation, really? But, you know, she doesn't want to be in an awkward situation, and she's too young to have to be in a situation where two adults don't get on. And like I said, I ain't got nothing against her dad personally. He's an idiot, but I will never stop him from seeing Shan. And you know, she knows that, but he doesn't. He scorns me. I'm the bad person in this whole thing, instead of actually looking at me from a good point of view and saying, actually, from what age she had my daughter, she's looked after her and she's kept her well, and she's nearly 15 and she's just an angel. And, you know, it's a shame that he can't actually open his mind up and just be a bit more positive towards me, because I think that's one of the main reasons why Shan doesn't want to see him. I've not told her everything about everything he's done to me, but I have told her, like, the times where, like, what she saw when he shouted at me and when he's contacted me on Facebook recently. But it's to make her own opinion about it, because, you know, really, what has he done as a father? You know, he never come to any school meetings. He never bought a school uniform. Like I said, it's not about money, but it's just about showing that, you know, I'm your dad and I'm going to be there for you. And just to take an interest in her life, really. So, you know, it's a shame that she hasn't had a dad, but she's had me, and that's all that matters. And our relationship is the best relationship in the whole entire world. She's my best friend. She is the best daughter in the world. She's polite, she's mannerful. Everyone loves her. Everyone who meets her just says she's a gem to me. Like, I'm really blessed. And, you know, obviously parenting on my part has helped in this, but I've literally been blessed, like, from having her at 13 and to having, like, what she's like now. She's an unbelievably good girl, except for she's messy. I film my videos in her room, yeah? This is her room. If I could show you what's on the floor and everywhere, she's such a little messy girl. But other than that, she's perfect. I'd rather have a messy girl than a rude girl who cleans a room. Do you know what I mean? So I'm really blessed. So thank you so much for watching this video, guys. I hope it hasn't been as long as the other one. If there's any questions you guys want to know, so like, you know, how did I carry on my education after I had her? What was my first job like when we first moved out? Or her first day at school. If you guys want to know more on my teenage story, then let me know. Post any questions or comments below and I'll scroll through them. The reason why this whole video was really dedicated to her father is because, trust me, the amount of comments I've had solely based on her father, I had to have this video and just let you all know the nits and grannies about what happened between me and her dad after the whole situation. So thank you so much for watching, guys. If you haven't already, click that button, give a girl a support. Honestly, when I hit 10,000 followers, oh my guys, I don't know what I'm going to do, but I am slowly getting there and I can't bloody wait. But yeah, subscribe to my channel, guys, and follow me on Instagram and Twitter and Snapchat. Follow me on all three of these, guys, and I'll hope to see you guys all in the next video. Thank you so much. Mwah. Oh, and I didn't cry. Oh, I didn't cry. Thank you, guys. Mwah.